The Last of Us Part 2. It's kind of a divisive game. A lot of people think it's fantastic. They stand by it. And many people hate it. Myself, well, this is just another video about my favorite games of 2020. Guys, I love this game. And I think that everything Naughty Dog did, everything that Neil Druckmann allowed to happen in the story was justified. I think that the things that happened made sense because they came together to tell a fantastic film-like story. I mean, this game was amazing. I think it's great. I know people hate on it, but guys, Last of Us Part 2 is one of my favorite games of 2020.
What the hell are you doing here?
You think I'd let you do this on your own?
First of all, the first game is like one of my favorite games ever. I absolutely loved it. It really stuck with me. It hit hard when I played that game in 2013. It was a masterpiece. And 7 years later, we get a sequel to a game that didn't need a sequel. But I think it really worked exceptionally well because we had two different main characters and we saw how they came full circle. It was very different from the first game, but also still had the same type of thing going on. It was still a really fucked up world. Very dark, very tragic. We saw Ellie, her story, and it was a direct follow-up to her story from the first game. A lot of the things that really succeeded the first game in Part 2 shook me. The story had some crazy things happen before it even came out, unfortunately. Spoilers hit the internet. But hey, you know what? I'm still not going to talk about those spoilers right now. This is not the video for that. I'm talking about why this is one of my favorite games of last year. I felt sick to my stomach with some of the violence. I felt sad for some of the deaths. Yeah, people die. This game is brilliant. The way the narrative unfolds, the way that everything comes together, the ending is hard. It hits you. And I felt emotional. I didn't cry, but like I could have, you know what I mean? Like it was very, very emotional. It was an effective game in terms of narrative. I'm somebody who appreciates good writing. I'm someone who appreciates a good story and the depth of a good story. And The Last of Us Part 2 absolutely delivered in that department. There were times that I just felt so like mad at a character. There were times that I was really upset seeing what someone did to somebody else. There were some really disturbing things that people did, but then almost like you could justify every messed up thing that happens every time someone's violent because of the world that they're set in, because of this terrible world that they have to fight through. Things aren't good over there in the world of The Last of Us. And there were happy moments too. There were fun moments. There were actually some funny moments. There was so much great character development, not only of Ellie and Joel following up from what we saw in the first game, but Abby, a fantastic protagonist. Some might say she is a bit of an antagonist in some ways. And I think that Ellie is also a bit of an antagonist in some ways. Abby was really well written, really well acted. She is dynamic. Her story hit me hard too. There was a lot of emotional weight in there. Payoff, some of it was not great payoff. And I don't mean like it was not done well, but like sucks for her. I mean, the things that happen to her are terrible. She's gone through hell too. I love the dynamic between everybody in this game. I love the way things sort of just happen by chance, but really hit hard. Very effective. I mean, I didn't really talk about anything else but narrative so far, and we're a few minutes in, but Last of Us is a game about story. The Last of Us Part 2 is a game about story. It's a direct sequel that is amazing at storytelling. I also found the gameplay to be quite innovative and a little bit more refreshing. I like that it wasn't exactly the same as the first game, whereas The Last of Us was, in many ways, it felt like you really had to focus more on stealth. The Last of Us Part 2 allowed me to sort of take my gun out and start shooting a little bit more. Sometimes action was encouraged. And I like that because it had a bit of a blend of stealth and action, and I really enjoyed all of it. It's a good, competent third-person action game with some very strong stealth elements. I was on the edge of my seat as I'm really laying down, sneaking around, not trying to get caught because I couldn't imagine what was going to happen to me if I did. I really liked when the action sort of happened. It got violent and exciting. It was a thrill. The enemies were interesting too, because maybe it's just me, but I found that The Last of Us Part 2 gave us more human enemies than the first game. And I don't know if I really fought as many clickers and, runners and all that. Like I felt like I was going against humans who actually showed emotion and showed physical pain, and they were fighting to survive like I was, no matter who I was playing as. That's kind of crazy, and that's the genius in The Last of Us Part 2. You really felt some pain sometimes when violent things happened, and it's not like you had a choice. Really, I would have actually liked some more choices in the game, but it's really great fighting against humans in Last of Us, more than I expected it, but I think it worked super well. And of course, disgusting enemies, fighting those things that have been infected and blowing up, and like the crazy stuff that happens when you get in a run-in with them. Awesome, really thrilling. It's a dark game. It is an emotional game. It's a very well-written game, well acted, and photorealistic. I gotta mention graphics when I'm talking about games I love, because these days graphics are just, it's mind-blowing how nice looking this game was. I think it's a technical marvel. So that's pretty much going to wrap up my thoughts on The Last of Us Part 2, a divisive game, but a game that I love. I'm on the side of it being a 10 out of 10. I think it's a fantastic follow-up. In some ways, it didn't need to happen, and The Last of Us is better than its sequel. But if you actually look at how it follows up, I think it's a really incredible continuation of a story and of an introduction to new stories. Without Joel or Ellie in the future, The Last of Us 3, 4, 5, or whatever could survive, because it's a world. It's not just their stories. Whether or not we see more of those characters in the future or not, who knows? I don't know if there will really ever be a Last of Us 3, but I love this game. I admire it and really, really respect it because it is brilliant. Those are my thoughts, guys. Fight in the comments below. Several months later, if you're still hating on this game for certain things, or if you just, I don't know, maybe you don't feel the same way as I do, and that's cool. I want to have a conversation. This was one of many videos of my favorite games of 2020. A terrible year, but a great year for gaming. So go check out some of my other videos. Talked about a few of the games that I like. In the description below, you'll find that. I hope you guys enjoyed your time here. Maybe consider subscribing if you think that you want to see some more content like this. I've definitely got more on the way. I haven't even given you my top 3 games of the year yet. What? Yeah, we're getting there soon, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate your time here. I'm Ryan. I'll see you all in the next video.